So team, do you remember where we stopped last class? We were working with asset security. Under asset security, anyone remembers CSSP training, CSSP training? Only slide chapter, only 30th slide. Okay. So Gaurav, you have started recording, right?
Yes, yes, recording has been started.
Okay, fine. Thank you. So last class, we were discussing about asset security. So in asset security, we were discussing the types of asset, how do we classify assets, and what is the asset? It is like tangible, intangible of assets, information lifecycle. Then we discussed about data owners, data custodians, asset owners, business owners, and privacies, the types of privacies like pseudonymization, anonymizations. These are the privacy. There will be a compulsory questions for CSSP exam. Okay. Then into that media resource protection. Under media resource protection, we discussed about data remnants. For CSSP exam, data retention is very, very important because why the reason why we use data retention here in case a data is required for audition. If the data is used for any kind of retrieval for a policies or any kind of information, how we are using it, then we use that for information. So next one, we were using about data remnants. Data remnants is like a process of destroying and dismantling the hard drive, secondary storage hard drive. So here we had clearing, here we had purgings, here we had destructions, here we had overwriting, degaussing, and encryption process. So these are the main things that we focus, and we had stopped till 30th slide. So I hope you're able to see this slide, right? The slide purging, degaussing, destroying. You can use the chat windows. Okay. Now, in this data media resourcing, we have deletion against the file where we are using accessing or how we are using to delete the magnetic strips of data. That is what we try to override the information. For example, if you take a DVD, okay, so first in that DVD, it is like 600, no, 2 GB of data. So you try to use 2 GB of data, again, you use it, and for a quite long time, that platters on that DVDs will go off if you keep on reusing it. It depends again the quality of aluminum and how it has been installed in the terms of erasing the data. So here we use a high speed of directions, which we use, make sure that it will be no use for any further usage. So that is known as erasing of media. Then we have clearing, which means overwriting. It's a process of preparing the media to reuse, ensure that clear data cannot be using traditional recovery tools, and when the media is cleared, unclassified data is written over addressable location on the media. These are the very important aspect of clearing, erasing media, purging media, degaussing the media. So next one is digital rights management. So why this is very important as a security, whenever we are processing the business, we cannot use open source softwares. We cannot use pirated softwares. We have to use original based softwares, make sure that we are protected. Because if you're using open source, there will be a lot of backdoors for hackers to get into the confidential data, steal the confidential, so on. So digital rights management is to provide the copyrights protections, and copyright works. It is used for unauthorized usage of modifications, intellectual properties, and some of the DRM solutions. So normally in the 2005 or 2006, we used to download a lot of Microsoft product. We used to download from BitTorrent, MicroTorrent. We use KMS key. So this is all like not a best practice in terms of dealing the operating systems or anything. Since we have a lot of open source software, still we don't recommend to use it. So in order to provide, be sure that we are a digital rights management, we have online authentication. So whenever you have this Microsoft product, you have a key. That key has to be online. You have to sign up. Then only you can use that, enabling that the software, legitimate softwares. So that is the meaning of this persistent online. A persistent online is like a DRM requires a system to be connected with internet to use the product. The system periodically connects the authentication server. If the connection fails, the DRM blocks the usage of product. That's the main concept of the persistence online authentications. Next one is continuous audit trial. A continuous audit trial is use of copyrights product, which is used for combining the persistence, can detect, abuse the concurrent use of product simultaneously, but also geographically at different locations. Then we have automatic expirations, which means many products. Now, is it clear? Digital rights management. Okay. So next is the continuous audit trial. A continuous audit trial tracks the use of copyrights when combined with persistence that can detect, abuse, concurrent use of product, which has two different locations. So one is automatic expiration, means many products are sold on subscription basis. You can rent or streaming, or you can be available in for 30 days. For example, Netflix, Amazon, Hulu. There are different types of uh, entertainment apps which can be used for this digital rights management. So we were discussing about data remnants for data hard drives, solid state drives, secondary storage devices, so on. When the company is outsourced to cloud adoption, such as Azure, AWS, or Google, Oracle, or any third party cloud vendors, how do they delete the data? Because what happens is whenever we are outsource ourselves, the infrastructure is used by Azure or AWS or Google, they will be having the complete informations, even including the configuration of data, how it has been protected, what are the important things that been required. So if we want to end the service with Azure and want to move with AWS, so still the data will be remaining there. So how do we going to delete it? So there is a no process called deleting it. We'll be having that key process, the key phrases that we'll be deleting that keys and make sure that no one gets that key as well. A cloud provider don't have a secure register, so that current best solution is risk of encrypting the data with the cloud security, and the crypto ledger is very simple as destroying the keys itself. If a data is encrypted and it is possible of crypto erasures, and it is used to share the data instead of destroying encryptions or both decryptions if they have been used. With this cryptographic keys, it is erased or data remained. So we have a method of overwriting the data. So if it is an original encryption, then we need to have a backup of cryptographics and still access to the data, cryptographic keys, or secure deletions available to an organizations. These are the very common factors that we use for a cloud-based data remnants. So next one, we're going to talk about standard selections. A standard selection is an organization which we use is PCI DSS, which use a security controls, which is used to understand the standard. For example, if you're writing a policy, if you're writing an SOP, standard operating procedures, am I in the slide number 34, Sendil Albert?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. So whenever we are writing procedures or whenever we're writing a policies, there will be a standard format which has to be implemented. Similarly, whenever we are doing a business with any Gulf or any US or any Asia specific in terms of any compliances related part, then we need to work on PCI DSS, or then we need to work on general data privacy rules. Then we need to work on 7 principles. These are the standard information which has to be planned and implemented and documentation presentation. So we need to evaluate the three vendors of security controls that uses a standard selection process to help and determine which solution is best for fit for the organizations. Vendor selection is closely related to the standard selections and not being technologies of solutions, which can be object and which can be measurable and which can have a selection of process. And it depends. Some of the risk frameworks, they use NIST in some of the organizations. Some organizations use CMMI, some organization use ISO 27001. In Singapore or New Zealand, they use CIS benchmark. So it depends, again, organization, what type of standard selection they need to choose from. So you don't get any questions with respect to the standard selection. This is exam essential. I would give the weightage up to 20%, 20% likelihood that is the chances of getting in the exam. The reason is the standard selection, why it comes means if you are choosing any answers incorrect in data owner or data custodian, then you will be having a questions, easy question from a standard selections. So next one is data classifications and categorizations. This is a basic information. How do we classify assets? First, we need to classify assets. After that, we will classify data classification like confidentiality, integrity, availability. Asset classifications, laptops, high, medium, low. So categorizations, priority one, priority two, priority three. Depending on the situations, we will be mapping these structures. Classification ensures information is marked in a such a way that only those within appropriate level of clearance can have access to the informations. So the process of determining the impact loss of confidentiality is availability information to an organization process. So we have different ways of classifying the data. So we have private, company restricted, company confidential, and public. So for the exam, public, it cannot, they don't ask any question related to public. So in the exam, they will try to twist the company's restricted data and company confidential data. So what is company confidential data? A company confidential data can be reviewed by an employee, but it is not for a general purpose. So a company restricted data is a subset of employees which we use, like classifying the shared. If you see a SharePoint in the organization, some of them would be having read access, some of them would have read only access, write access, edit access, and so on. These are the major benefits of classifications, identifies the appropriate level of protections needed. So when classifying the data, we have a security practitioner needs to determine who has access to it, how it is secured, whether it is need to encrypt, or what method should be used to dispose of it. That's the main practices of this the classifications. So what are the steps for information classification? This is general information. This is depends again organization to organizations. First thing, you need to have conduct who is asset owners, data owners, data custodians. Then based on that, you need to understand the criteria of classification. How many confidential data? Normally we call it scrub data. So this scrub data will classify how many data we have, what are the live data, what are the decommissioned data. Then we need to identify exceptions. Exceptions required in the information security because not all the controls implies to the organization. Some controls might be effective, some controls may not be applicable for the organizations. Determine the control to apply each classification levels. Determine the process to ownership of transferring declassification, reclassification levels. Ensure the awareness of requirements. Test the audit implementation process. So normally in the organization, who decides the classification? Data owner. So the last class when I talked about data classification examples are we have these chief executive officers, chief information officers, chief risk officers. They all the people who are with CXO. They all represent as data owner. So they are individual who owns the data should be decide the classification under which the data falls. So data owner should review the classification at least annually. So you get a scenario-based question on a data owner, making sure that a senior manager or making sure that a CISO who is responsible of reviewing the data classification. So they will give you in the form of senior managers or information or a chief executive officer or chief information officers, depending on the hierarchy level of the organization. So that time you based on this question, you need to choose the right one. So I'll tell you one more thing. CSSP exam is not a highly technical exam. It's a management, it's a managerial, it's a judging a question according to the situation. Okay. So do not spend too much of time on spending reading the technical jargons. Here, everything is like a statement. For each statement, you need to understand the statement and address how it has been used. For that, you need to read varieties of frameworks. At least if you go through once, that will be more than enough for understanding the frameworks of process. So next one is asset classification. This is a general information. Do not stick to this slide. This is just an information. How do we classify assets? What are the things we require to classify assets? So in the assets classification, in the first slide, we discussed about tangible, intangible of assets. Intangible assets, we have laptops, we have endpoints, we have mobile device managements. We'll be assigning it to be secret, top secret, or top confidential, depending on the enterprise level. So we also provide IT clearance as a relate of certain classification of data equipment who has access to a level of classifications. So we also have asset classifications in which we are processing a top secret of data to be classified. Similarly, if they should internal or external drives to hold the top secret of data. This is all used to remind and how to process and store the asset of information. So whenever we use this top secret, we need to monitor, we need to prominent the label of reminding users, classification of data that can be processed on the computer systems. Then we have asset management. So asset management we use in terms of inventories or additional steps like computer servers, routers, IT infrastructures, IT hardwares, IT softwares. Doing an asset inventories plays a very important role. Which of the systems have been decommissioned? Which of the systems have been onboarded? Which are the cloud infrastructures we have onboarded? And how we are monitoring it? What are the new servers that we have brought? And how we are performing business continuity plan for the organization. This all brings a very important role for the asset inventory process. So this is also a general information about the asset management, which is not related to your CISSP exam. So what is this IT assets? It's a mainly a broader discipline of financial aspects, IT aspects, point of acquisitions, physicals, contractuals, financial informations. So this inventory management, electronics, versionings, mortgage, refreshment, retirement is used in the asset or physical inventories. So contractor, whenever if your company is ISO 27001 certified, so it is good to support a business like software or multiple client support like cyber security or anything. So they'll be having a request form procedures where some of the clients want to support a third party controls like Splunk, or it can be threat hunting, or it can be auditing, or it can be ISO implementation. They can use this request form forgeries. So in that they'll update information, they'll update the business continuity plan, everything they will be updating it. So we'll be having a financial of procurement of budget of cost control chargeback informations.
Hari, please don't mind. I have one question. So I would like to understand if ISO 27001 is one of the certification where organization is ready to get certified. So they
Mhm.
are looking to get certified with the PCI or any other certification. Are they able to club both the certification and go through the same process as per the ISO standards, or how it works?
No, no. Actually, what happens? This situation happened in one of the company called DUB. They have the other certifications, but they have not claimed this ISO. So whenever any European companies want to outsource, they definitely need this BSA ISO 27001 certification. Without else, they, if they have any third party, they don't accept it.
This will works
That has to go.
only for
That has
European countries or
Yeah. Go ahead.
other regions as well.
Other countries for everyone, all together.
So when I'm implementing as example, as I said, I requested earlier, right? So
Mhm,
there is a request to club already certified with ISO, and they are planning
mhm.
to club with the EIDAS standards, which is a European standards.
Then
So
that is possible. That is possible, Sandeep. That can be done.
mhm,
So
okay,
the mother of certification is ISO 27001, as per my experience. Okay. So whenever we do auditing or whenever we do any perform like on-site centers and all, immediately they will present that in the front of the organization itself. When you go to the reception or anywhere, they will make sure that all the physical facilities, fire facilities, everything they would have been updated then. So based on that, we'll go for investigating policy, procedure documents, evidence collections, identity logs management, HR resource, everything we'll do. And some companies, they don't even go for doing it policy implementation. They purchase the certification. And that is also have been seen that for 2 lakhs, 3 lakhs, they have purchased the certification.
but the how it can be done if they did any audit, then it will not be
No,
worked
no,
out, right?
auditor itself will give, auditor itself will give. Auditor itself will give the certification. I'll name it as some. There are many companies in Bangalore. One
Uh-huh.
is like Itronic Solutions. Another one is Zepto Connectivities. They all have this information. Okay,
Then they are not following the code of ethics.
they're not following. Who is following? No one will verify code of ethics. Okay, for them, I'll tell you, our Indian managers or the multimillionaires, what they do is they try to bring the contract to India. And then they bring, once they bring the contract, they will try to sign up for 1 year or 2 years. And once they sign up, they will do the billing for the projects. If we are supporting SOC control, SOC security operation centers, in that 5 centers will be, 5 things will be there. Splunk will be there, DLP will be there, threat hunting will be there, 524 tools will be there, 24/7. They charge like 20 lakhs, 30 lakhs per month, and they will divide that into L1 agents, and they, people who are acting very smart, they'll fire the from the system. That is what is happening in the small based companies.
So SOC is for only for financials, right? And SOC
No,
2
no,
and
not,
3 is only for
this is
IT.
separate. This is cyber security, security operations center. I'm talking about
Oh,
service
okay.
organization control type 1, type 2. That is like internal audits. That
Okay.
is completely compliance under audit compliance, risk compliances part. So I'm just telling you the how this portfolio works here in
Okay.
India. There are
Okay.
many companies like that. There are many companies. If you track, nowadays what happens, if any one person who settled in Australia, any one person who settled in US, he tries to bring that business client to India, and he tries to outsource it, and he makes more money out of it. That is what is happening.
Okay.
So different types of IT asset management. This is like the process, refine, requirement, implement, maintenance, and decommissions. So always you have to remember in IT infrastructures, if you understand IT infrastructure very well, then the security just plays an added layer of security controls. So in that controls, you just need to understand like each and every controls, how it is used and how it has been implemented. So if you see any person like AI engineer or data centers, this CISP is the cakewalk for them. They easily clear the exam because it's a completely theoretical and very easy. If you want to study data science, or if you want to study artificial intelligence or machine learning, it's like mind blowing. Too much of brainstorming sessions, a lot of algorithms, a lot of mathematical functions, implementation of process. So if you see that I wanted to learn artificial intelligence, that's the reason I'm telling you it's too difficult. Everything is defined with the algorithms. So most of the time you'll be spending in terms of exceptions, coding errors, bugging out, each and everything you'll be finding out. Because I'm from application security background, so I wanted to make sure that how this autonomous and how they are doing this scripting and all. So it's very, very difficult, and it will not take 1 month or 1 year of time. It requires more time to get a practice on that. But this, as of now, for a safety things, CSSP is like a judgment statement. You have a questions, you have a 4 choice of options, you can choose the answers, and based on that you can go on for the next level. So next
So,
one. Yeah,
so how will be the future for the cybersecurity?
futures, I'll tell you, Sandil, to be very honest, everything is moved out to cloud. There are only some couple of banks that CSSP they are following, their auditing is they're following SOC 1, SOC 2. I would say 2 to 3 years max, everything artificial intelligence will swallow up.
Okay.
I'll tell you why. Earlier, when I used to work for SOC team in the year of 2010 or 2011, we used to have L1, L2, L3 for security operations like HP Upside or HP Tipping Point, semantic DLP, semantic antivirus, semantic Outlook encryptions. We had n number of jobs, n number of jobs in a security operation, like 50 people working in uh, one client to support. Okay. Now what they have made is they have made 3 virtualization in one system. So one virtualization supporting for waste management, one virtualization supporting for Clifford Chance, one virtualization supporting for Mindtree applications. So 3 company in one centralized VMware. Everything they'll be using a Slack. In the Slack, they create a channel, Mindtree channel, waste management channel, or Clifford channel. Any alert comes, immediately they have to look into the alerts. They have to do a virus total scanning. They see any is there updated or there. If there is a ticket requires to create, they'll create the ticket in service now and they start close the call. That is how it is. They have done it. 3 clients with one customer. So that one guy would be joined as a consultant, and he would be working like 9 hours, like completely monitoring this kind of activities. So only some of the jobs are very good satisfied is in Gulf. They have a very good protocol. They're doing it very well. Gulf, USA, Singapore, Australia, New Zealand, and Yeah, that's the other thing. Other part, and if it's come to outsource to India, gone case. All three jobs they give it to you. It's workforce. They are utilizing it very clearly. So
Okay.
earlier there was an assumption that cyber security is a booming industries. Job is security. That is not the concern now. Everything is moved into very cloud structures. So you name it anything, there is ready-made policies, ready-made procedures that they can implement. So they have come in that stage. So they don't need to spend anything on that. And if the if you have already have a AWS subscription, you name it, you have any subscription on it, you don't even require ISO 27001, because for ISO 27 business continuity plan, disaster recovery plan, asset security, everything is a concern, right? Here you'll be using emerging technologies like mobile device management. See, it does not require for it. So you can outsource the business however he feels like. So that concept is known as anything as a service. So Albert, how do you have the job outsourced in your Gulf country? Is it like completely cloud dependent or completely ISO 27 or okay?
Hello.
Yeah, Albert.
Sorry, what have you asked?
No, I was asking, how is your job like? Is it like completely cloud adopted technologies, or you have completely still working on their on-prem solutions, like data center?
Currently on premise.
Okay, fine. So Mithun and you all work together, is it? Mithun, Alba, Arvind.
Yes, but for different clients.
Okay. All right. So there are a couple of slides. I'll finish it off. So next one is data retention. This is very important for the exam. What happens is any business who is running out of loss, who is not making a proper revenue. I'm just giving you a scenario. So they want to sell this company or they want to close this company. They have the two options. When they want to sell the companies, they will be sending all their taxonomy policies information to the other companies. So that is easy task. If they want to close the company completely decommissioned, then they have a government portal where they have to upload all the records for future reference, for auditing reference. So a business needs to safeguard the assets or basic security controls to use to enforce the various level of confidentiality, integrity, availability, act per security policies. So they have a process for any purpose to be preserved for a period not less than what is been required for a business, longer than necessary. So how long do we need to retain the document? So we have a different types of data records. One is business documents like implementations, deployment process, which normally be 7 years of time. Next one is invoice, which is 5 years. Account payable and receivable is 7 years. Human resources is 7 years. And tax record is 4 years. Legal correspondence is permanently. So this is like it is a mandatory, it is a standard that they'll be following this type of record retention period. So next one is establishing the governance of database. One is like understanding where data exists, classifying defined data, archiving and managing the data. So building effective overall archiving and data retention strategies. This involves stakeholders in process, best practices within the organizations, monitors, review, update documented data retention policies, and archiving procedures. So this is all the statements to classify, to archive the policies, how we have been implemented. So this is just a general information. So next one is building effective archiving data retention policies. This is used to develop a sound recorded retentions. How do we evaluate statutories? So classifying the types of record, determining the retention period, draft the justify record retention policies, audit retentions and destruction practice, periodically reviewing the policies, document policies, implementations, training, and adult. So this is all the very important aspect of dealing the retention policies. So best practices for retention policies is cross-functional. So we need to use how data retention is orderly disposed when the data is no longer required. So for example, 20 years or 15 years, still it would be nullified or void from that information. So previously, when I joined my first company in 2003, that was one of the company which was completely into technical, but later on they closed it. It was known as iSeva tech support. So like how we had rediffemail.com. So that was the subcontinent of that.
For full course video training, visit MildainTrainings.com. Register now.
Thanks for watching.
Don't forget to subscribe to our channel.